Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Another exciting show and definitely another exciting guest. You know, like I've always said since season one, I never know who's going to walk through that door, and it still lives up to the hype. So today, let me tell you where we're going today with this beautiful young lady with this smile, just like, yeah. She pulls up and she's like taking pictures and yada, yada, yada. And I say, hey, Elizabeth. Say, hey, Andre. You know, and she's been like selfies since she sat in this chair. But let me tell you about her beautiful story, that beast mindset. Imagine, if you will, being in the nursing field. And when you're a nurse, you think you don't have time to be funny at all. But she's also a comedian. And we're going to sit with her as she tells us how all this came to be. So let's welcome to the show, all the way from Greenwood, Indiana, the one, the only Miss Comedian herself, Elizabeth Urquhart. What's up?
What's up? Thank you for having me.
Such a beautiful last name, Scottish.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yes.
Born and raised Scottish, family Scottish?
Actually, no. That I was married, so that's his last name. I didn't get it changed. Was too busy going to school and such, but actually I'm half German and I'm English and Irish. So my actual maiden name, my last name is Reynolds. So
I like Reynolds.
yeah, me too. except for one of my trauma dumps in school, they used to call me Reynolds Rap and everything else.
Ain't it crazy when you're in high school? No, it's that stuff starts in elementary school. You get these crazy.
Oh, it did. They
these
started
names.
early.
So were you born and raised here in Indiana?
Actually, no. I was born and raised in the southern suburbs of Chicago. I'm the product of a single blue-collar man. We spent a lot of time on the hill in Chicago, Chicago Heights, which is called the Hungry Hill, which was predominantly Mexican, Italian, and Czech families.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I moved down here 19 years ago, but I still go home at least monthly. Yeah. But I'm born and raised south side of Chicago. I am a White Sox fan.
So is my son.
The other half of the family is the Cubs, so it makes for nice roasting material at family dinners.
We have a friend of mine, his name is D, and he reps Chicago. What's the blue one called? The Red Sox?
Oh, no, that's the Chicago Cubs.
Cubs.
Mm-hmm. You should, if you ever get the experience to go to a crosstown classic, you should.
Really?
Oh, yeah, because it's like the bantering, all that stuff. It's just a total vibe, but I'm always will be a diehard Chicago Bears fan. I will never trade on my team. I actually got good news. Mike Dicta's trying to get back in the game. That made a girl happy. Just to kind of counsel, I guess. I don't know. I haven't read too much into it, but if I could fangirl over one man, it would be Mike Ditka.
Okay, so you are a comedian, right?
I am.
So that should be the biggest joke. Mike Ditka coming back to do what at his age to the Bears?
Oh,
really?
You know what? He could just stand there and I would just be happy. Because to me, he represents the gridiron very well.
Well, I mean, I give Chicago their props. The first football game I ever saw was the Chicago Bears.
Yes.
And I remember precisely.
Mm-hmm.
I was probably like 9 or 10 years old, and it was cold.
Mm-hmm.
And we was right behind the bleachers in Soldier Field.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know nothing about football.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't.
Was that back when Singletary?
Yeah. No, it was way before Singletary. This was like in the 70s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was Walter Payton on then?
You know, he
could have just been starting.
He probably could have just got into the league because I was really young and I didn't know
I'm a huge Walter
nothing.
Payton fan.
Yeah.
I even wore everything down to my ruse.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You know what? I need to research that. Like, who was playing at that time that I went? It might have even been somebody like a Gail Sayers. I was young. I didn't know nothing about no football. I was cold, miserable, and it was a trip I won delivering newspapers.
Exactly. Well, it's funny because being the daughter of a single blue-collar worker, he didn't really have the whole feminine vibe. So we grew up very sports-oriented. Mm-hmm. So our Sundays at home were the Chicago Bears, homemade cooking with my dad, and just us roasting each other at the dinner table. So it's just that's what I want my comedy to reflect is home. And it's funny because what I've learned about comedy is there's so many different walks of life involved.
You mentioned your dad. Where was your mom?
My late mother was schizophrenic. So she was institutionalized. So that's actually a part of one of the other projects that I'm trying to work on. I actually work with Dr. Carrie Woodard, and she has this program called TIGHT, and I'll have to give you her information, but it's called Thinking Yourself to Excellence. And it's where I lecture new nurses about my childhood, what happened growing up with a schizophrenic parent, the social pressures it put on my father as a single father back then, because it wasn't a typical situation. And I lecture new nurses about examining their bias before they interact with the families and they interact with the patients themselves. And I'm actually currently a psych nurse. And I'm actually going to be working on my nurse practitioner soon. I'm currently in school for my BSN with IU. So yeah.
You just have
A lot of moving
you
wheels.
having Thanksgiving early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of moving parts. But I do squeeze comedy in there because you know, I'll be honest with you, I underestimated comedy and what it was. But I'm addicted to it.
Really? Are you funny?
I think so.
Save that
But you
for
know
the
what?
end. Don't say nothing funny yet. Let me ask you, let's go back a little bit, because I have a sister that had schizophrenic, became schizophrenic. Well, not became, she was diagnosed
Yes, correct.
with it. And I'm going to show you the difference with healthcare. We're going to go there for a minute.
Oh, yeah.
And its connection to illnesses like that. I saw my younger sister go through these different stages, but I was young, so I didn't really dive deep into what was going on because we have different moms. Her mom was supposed to handle that along with my dad. It wasn't until years later that she went to Fairbanks, and I went there, and she remembered who I was, but not at first. And that's when I decided, to take a deep look in what was really going on, knowing the fact that she had two beautiful sons, and the medication such as Haldose and stuff. And when I started researching, I said, this is what they give horses. It's, like tranquilizers and so forth. But I remember the shift change. People fail to realize back in the 80s, she had a nurse that would come to her place of residence to administer medication. She didn't really confide in me what she was taking because that's, I guess my sister would have had to give her that permission. But I remember years later, that program was taken away. Indiana did have a program to address those issues. When that program went away, all hell broke loose.
Yes. Well, it all started in the 60s, actually. Kennedy had a great idea about wanting to have the mentally ill with the family. But that's actually where most of the homeless come from because we're losing institutions. And for something that mental illness is probably one of the most widespread diseases, but if you can't see it, then people don't think it exists.
Right.
And unless you've dealt with it personally, it doesn't really affect people. And then there's also the revolving door policy. A lot of the individuals are on state aid. And there's only so much that they can, the state can fund, and federal aid. And actually, they're closing down a lot of hospitals. But that's why there's the revolving door policy, because when you come to acute care units, like an inpatient or an outpatient, they're literally there just to stabilize the systems. But since there's that breakdown in the healthcare community, they don't have anybody to monitor them to take their meds, the inability to afford the medications. So it's not like, the healthcare professionals aren't doing their very best. Their hands are tied because they really are trying to stabilize and, try and do safe discharges. But, a lot of the population that has mental disease is homeless or on fixed incomes.
It makes me wonder, now that you brought this up, what actually happened to those patients that was diagnosed that went to Central State in Indiana, those hospitals that went down? I know they had a lot of mismanagement, that they had nurses and doctors that was
Well, I'll be honest with you, in that time frame, that was actually a very dark time frame in mental health. So here, picture this, because I actually did a thesis on this for my speech, and it was about the history of mental illness. And my youngest, I took her to Central State because, you know, it's in our family history, and I wanted her to see that. Did you know, like in the 14 and 1500s, people could actually go into the mental asylums and actually look at the mental patients and mock them?
yeah.
Yeah. So in the Victorian era is when stuff started to actually shift. You saw a change in the hospitals, like the sanatorium in Kentucky and out here. They had a good policy that people needed sunlight, they needed open.
Yeah.
So they were right. But a woman, and I actually have material on this about Sigmund Freud, but a woman could actually, if she talked back to her husband, could be institutionalized for hysteria.
Yeah.
A lot of people who were considered indigent, you know, like your alcoholics, the mentally delayed, so on and so forth, could be institutionalized. And no matter how much they tried to go ahead and separate, you had like the true criminally insane. It's been a very broken system from the start.
Let's talk about you and I want you to make sure you keep that microphone close to you.
Okay.
I don't want the viewers to miss nothing of this educational moment.
Yeah.
So let me go back for a minute. Your father, during a time, an era where being a single father was almost unheard of, or more or less kept in the closet, and dealing with his wife being institutionalized. Who did the institutionalize? What symptoms was your mom showing, and how difficult was that for your dad to have your mom put under that observation, knowing that now he has to raise you, and you have other brothers and sisters as well?
Yeah. So my mother was the greatest love. I get emotional. She was the greatest love of my dad's life. And he noticed the mental decline, but, you know, which is most common for schizophrenics. They will self-medicate through alcohol or drugs. And my mom, she did drink a lot. The worst thing that he had to do was institutionalize her. She went through a period of psychosis, and there was a moment to where she thought I was evil, and he had to defend me from her. And he knew it wasn't safe. So from then on, nobody helped him. She would go to the hospital and they would stabilize the symptoms and they would release her back home. Well, he had to work and support her and us. He couldn't keep up with all that. And I'm actually heartbroken for my father, even still to this day, because the man has been given no grace. About a year ago, he goes, Lizzie, I have all the court paperwork from everything from your mom if you want to see it, to show you I tried to do everything that I tried to do for you babies and to keep. It was like, Dad, let it go. Let it go. And the thing is with men particularly, men like my father, they're told to brush it off. My father faced so much scrutiny, not only from the healthcare system because they perceived him as not keeping up with my mom's maintenance, but from society, from having to raise two young girls back in a time where it wasn't like, what's happening behind closed doors, which nothing was, or her family who accused him of not doing enough. So when you see a man go through that much, I have the grit that I do because of my father. I didn't have to have him talk to me. I just watched him.
He led by example.
He led by example. He led by example. every 12, 14, 16-hour shift, he went to put food on the table. He led by example when he sat there and kept his cool when people were scrutinizing him. He wasn't at every sporting event of mine, but he made damn sure he was at every sporting event that count. When I won sectionals, when I won state.
What about your other siblings?
My brother, my oldest brother. There's actually 7 of us.
Wow, he had a plot on his plate.
Yeah.
7 of them by your mom? The one?
No.
Okay.
There's 2 of my older brothers out of Buffalo, New York. My dad moved to Chicago in the 70s.
Okay.
And then there's my older brother, Christopher, and then my younger sister, Laura, and then I have my stepsister, April, and then I have my wonderful adopted sister, Taylor. But my older brother, like my mother, who's actually her birthday baby, she was born on her birthday, he's also schizophrenic.
Wow.
So now my father has to devote his time to my brother.
Now this is how many are by your mom?
3.
But your brother is diagnosed. What was the signs that he was showing that gave you guys that conclusion?
Well, it actually happened. Christopher was in the Army. He was a soldier. He was in enduring freedom and Iraqi freedom. He actually got stop lost. I don't know if you remember back in the early 2000s when that was going on. They had they were thinking about drafting people because they had people that were freezing. They weren't wanting to enlist. So he was stop lost. So they started to notice symptoms towards the end. Right before he got out, he was transferred to Germany. It was his COs and stuff that started to notice a stark difference. But, he had an incident where, some soldiers got hurt, and that was kind of like the trigger. There's always subtle signs that nobody misses, but there's always that trigger. So the trigger for my mother was having 3 children so close together, the loss of her mother, the loss of her job. Not a lot of people notice, and this is what frustrates me about mental illness, is my mom's entire existence was defined by her disease. Okay. Nobody really realizes that my mom was one of the first females integrated into the Ford Motor Company in Chicago Heights. They didn't know that she spoke fluent German. They didn't know that she was a farmer. But my mom, a lot like my dad, that's why they gelled so well together. She had a ballsy attitude. She wasn't going to take any crap from anybody. She was this 5'11" German woman, grew up on a farm. She hung with the best of men. And my dad, I'm thankful that my dad is a feminist.
What do you mean?
He raised his daughters to be completely self-sufficient. He knew early on, my dad didn't get the opportunity to go to college because he lived in Buffalo, New York, and at that time it was pretty rural. He couldn't get funding for college, not like they can now. And he's the most brilliant man on the planet if you sit and listen to him talk. But he saw the problems that my grandmother went through. And he's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, I want to be a wife and mom. And my dad looked at me. It's one of the few poignant moments in my life. He goes, bullshit, you're going to be more. Because my dad knew at an early age, he knew that he had 2 daughters. And he knew that by accepting certain comforts that were provided by the opposite sex,
if they get taken away, then you're up shit creek because you have really no.
It leads them to a moment. No, it's not. It leads them to a moment of vulnerability. And there was one time, because I'm a thick-headed girl. I was raised by him, and I was like, "Man, old man, why are you so hard on me, Pops? Let it go." And he goes, "A father's greatest gift will always be his daughter." He's like, the lineage of a man can end and be with a man, but the lineage of a woman goes on and on to span generations. He's like, when I go, he's like, I need to know the comfort that my daughters are going to be able to hold their own. I'll tell you, it doesn't make it easy for the date in life.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And you know what? And that's okay.
It's probably because you carry that alpha personality, even though you're feminine.
Yeah, I'm very, very I identify what's called as a Sigma. I'm a very
Give me
lone
some
wolf.
dog. I'm a Sigma. You know what? No, I'm a hyper Sigma.
I'm completely fine being on my own. Like my circle is
Small.
extremely small.
Yeah.
And all my moves that I make are in silence.
Yeah. Give me some dog. I don't know many people that are Sigmas.
Yes.
And it's funny, they don't even know what it is. I say,
no.
They say, what is that? I say,
No.
you need to look it up.
And my daughter, she's like, Mom, telling people you're a Sigma just lets them know that you're a dick. And I'm like, yeah, I am. Sorry if I said the D word, but it's just the truth.
We move in a different way.
Yes.
And I tell people I move in silence. Not that I'm avoiding you. I'm always thinking.
Well, we're always watching.
And I'm watching like crazy. When you think
We're
I'm not,
always
I'm
watching.
looking. I'm like, okay.
And we notice the subtleties. We
Yeah.
notice the shifts in personality. We notice the shifts in the energy in the room. But I look at women as alchemists, really.
Explain that.
Women have the ability to adapt to whatever environment, no matter how tough it is.
Yeah.
We have the innate ability to make anything painful turn into beauty. That's why, like, when you look at my social media, it's very focused on women empowerment. I actually did a set on a gynecological visit maybe a couple weeks ago, and you would be surprised at the male response. They're like, we never knew.
Like what? Give me an example.
Oh, I was talking about the whole visit. So like, okay, so every woman, it does not without fail. You walk into this room, it's cold, you've got to drop your trousers.
Yeah.
We always hide our underwear.
Okay.
Literally, like ritual. And I always like to tease people, you know, because I'm one of the older comics. I'm from the 1500s, so I wear pantaloons and it's laundry day. But, you know, our vaginas are literally going to be stuffed in somebody's face, and we hide our underwear like it's our shame.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And actually, you know, I think if people were more open about the discussions of what women like, and I've had a few male comics give me kickback because they find my material offensive. Well, sometimes I find your face offensive, but I'm stuck looking at it.
Why would they find yourself offensive?
Because, you know, terms like vagina, you know, I talk about sex, you know.
But that's something that we
it's
should
something
not
very
be,
it's something very natural.
Right.
And it's not like I'm doing it in a derogatory way to sleaze down the set or whatever. It's my way of normalizing something. But, you know, I also suffer from ADHD myself. And it's a very lonely world when you have ADHD. Because you can sit there, I always try and warn people if I'm dating them or if they're courting me, or even if it's a friendship, I'm kind of like that yellow flag. I'm letting you know early on, hey, I have ADHD. So if, you know, but that's why my circle's so small, but my circle is just so damn strong. Like, I have my best friend, Ishtar. Like, if I'm zoning out because the thoughts are coming in, my dad, he calls her his light. Because she'll like, where are you going? Come back to me. And something about Ishtar's voice will just pull me right in.
For the people that don't know, what is ADHD?
It's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So essentially everything is on hyperdrive. My thought process, our brains are literally wired different. So like, for instance, we get labeled as the people who like to one up others. And that's not really the case, is we're so used to being alone that when you say that you have something, that's our way of actually empathizing with you. I've been told I'm too much because we do something called pebbling. So if we let you into our, like, maybe it's like a sick, twisted Zelda game, you know, like going up the levels there. But like, if we let you up another level, we're the fun people who like to buy you random gifts, or we like to feed you or whatever. But then there's the whole situation of boundaries. People have a lot of boundaries and we end up crossing them. Everything is hyper, but what they don't talk about enough is the rejection sensitivity portion of ADHD. So when you finally let someone in your circle and they reject you, it equates to physical pain. I literally feel physical pain. And
Upon rejection?
yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, like I feel it literally in my heart. We're impulsive. So I always tell people to, because I have a great ability of self-deprecating. I'm like, it's my ADHD. Sometimes I say stuff that's funny, sometimes I don't. But the cost of that is I accidentally hurt people. And then, and I always tell people, when I give them the yellow flag,
Mhm.
I was like, a good majority of you are going to leave because a lot of people are temporary anyway. They're seasonal.
Right.
But I have the people who are my core people who know that if I don't talk to you for a month, it's not because I'm ignoring you. It's because I'm hyper fixated on doing well at school. Or
Wait a minute. Yeah, say that again, because I get that all the time. And this is usually what I tell people. If I don't contact you, it's usually because you haven't contacted me.
Right. Exactly. Because to me, I grew up in an era where it's a two-way street.
Yeah, that's how I am. It's kind of like, okay, don't ever approach me and say why you didn't, because I'd be like, you got the same device that I got.
And you got a finger too.
And you got a finger.
And nowadays, you don't even have to do nothing. It's just a swipe and a click.
And the tricked out part is, I'm like, how stupid
Not
do you...
back in the day where we had the rotary phone and the cord.
Well,
I know you had that shit.
Well, I'd be like, well, how stupid do you think I am? I check social media. So if I'm seeing that you something yesterday, and you're going to ask me something stupid like, why haven't I heard from you? You seem to be pretty busy.
Exactly. And it's funny too, because like with ADHD, like people don't realize I speak for myself. I can't say for every ADHD person, but there's that barrier when it comes to feeling and experiencing love. Like someone can tell me that they love me, but I don't feel it. It's just because our brains are wired different. But I'm starting to learn. I'm going to use it as my superpower.
I looked at your social media, and I saw the black witch like outfit.
Yes.
And I'm thinking to myself, okay, she's coming in the studio, and I really don't know what I'm going to walk into. That's what I said to myself. I'm like, I see some spiritual sides.
I'm a very spiritual person.
And I didn't even look at everything. I'm I can see, I'm a visual person. I can look at it.
Most people are.
I can look at pictures and it will tell me the story more so than me reading what you got out there.
And I'm actually glad that you brought that up, and that shows how in tune you are to my message, or you're actually starting to get the message.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, she's deep.
So this is one of my most favorite and my most cherished movies is The Wizard of Oz.
I know the real Wizard of Oz.
Yes, with Judy Garland.
Yeah. But I know what you know. I know the true meaning of the Wizard of Oz. A lot of people don't.
Yeah. Well, in that picture, in that video where I'm walking with the red heels, sometimes the villains can get the red slippers too.
Yeah.
And it's not that the whole point. So like I have a better following on TikTok, and I actually, even though my following's small, it's very close. So like if you look through my social media and you see those little tidbits, those little eggs, you'll see, the princess who was naive and kind of saw the world in a different light. And then, she had her heart broken by many, in my case, many lost loves. And then the woods are always my safe space. I'm a very nature-based person, and she goes into the woods and she comes transformed into something else. That's why in the caption it says sometimes the scales tip, because I am a Libra. I am a Libra through and through. And I totally believe in the zodiac. I am a very spiritually based person. I do believe in Jesus Christ, but I also believe that there are other elements. And let's face it, Jesus Christ ran with a whole different crowd. One of his inner circle was considered a whore. So, you can't tell me that he wouldn't accept my train of thought when it promotes peace and love and an understanding of all the individuals around me. And I may get some kickback regarding my views, but I'm also a veteran. I fought for those.
It's funny because I that's exactly what I was going to say after looking at the social media. I was like, okay, she's very deep.
Yeah.
And I can see the symbolism. I call them breadcrumbs.
Yes.
I saw the breadcrumbs. I'm like, okay.
And that's why I agreed to be on the show, because I knew you were a total vibe. You would get what I was putting out. And I have to say, hearing it from a man's perspective, I'll be honest with you. When I throw out those breadcrumbs, I get more of thirst trap messages. And I'll be honest with you, you are the first man who's actually picked up on the true meaning of the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of symbolism in there, but it's more of I'm trying to resonate and deliver a message that's universal. It's not masculine nor is it feminine. It's coming from both sides.
No.
But you also see that you're saying don't cross those lines. You know, just because I'm in the woods don't mean I can't come out of the woods. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I mean, I get accused of being very hyper masculine, but I'm actually very feminine. And that's the beauty of being a Sigma, is you can be both.
I don't think they heard you.
I said that's the beauty of being a Sigma. You can be both hyper masculine and hyper feminine.
But one thing that you did that a lot of people don't understand when they talk about Sigmas like me and you, and I tell people, especially my guy friends, you're so in touch with your masculinity that you don't understand your feminine side. And feminine side don't mean you got to go put on a dress and heels.
No.
It means your state of love, because your love is going to generate differently from a masculine side than a feminine side. I was given the opportunity to sharpen that tool when I became a single father of a female.
Yes.
I said, I can't just give her the masculine side, kind of like with your dad. That's why I have respect for your dad. I have to also know that she's a female. So I have to balance the two. But first I have to look at myself and say, how do I tap into that? How do I intensify it to where it doesn't overkill, but it gives
my father
equilibrium?
Is so in tune with his children that he will call me at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and he'll be like, I had to start. I need to know you're okay, and I know it's you.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of my career, my first show was at Crackers, went real well. Booked another show, Crackers closed down. So part of one of my jokes is that it was my mouth. It's always getting me into trouble. But I got the email at like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. I was like, that's it. My comedy career is over because I don't know where to go. Right. I don't know what to do. And a lot of the comic scene's very closed off. My dad called. And he's like, if he didn't answer, I was coming over. But he called and he was like, I had to start. Something's wrong. And I told him. And he goes, oh, he's like, I know that ain't it, baby. He's like, we don't quit.
Yeah.
Find another avenue. And then I got linked up with two good friends. One who's not with us anymore. His name was Kevin Hearthstone. And he died in July, but it was my second show. And I had friends there, and it was a good time. And I looked at him, and I went blank. You know, that guy was such a stand-up guy. He let me get back up there and finish my set.
Really?
So I used to tease him. I was like, thanks for being the only man to let me fully finish.
Why do you think you hit a blank?
You know what? Because I was so new. And then the eyes leering on me, and it was because I was so new to the stage. But I'll tell you, I've made so many incredible friends in the comedy scene who are just trying to make it happen. You know, like there's some that, especially men, that I love that you really should link up with or follow their socials because they're great men. Like Kyle Bates is wonderful. Matt Babcock. The reason why I love Matt Babcock is because like he is just in your face, completely unapologetic about anything that he says. But the thing that captivates me about that ginger boy is like, it's all him. And he gives zero damn. But there's also Sign the Comedian, AJ. There's Jimmy Medina.
I know Jimmy. We had Jimmy, but I remember when
I love him so much.
He sat right here and we was talking. I remember telling him, I said, you know what? You might have come out of Chicago. You might have came to Indiana. You're young. You're gonna now look at him. He's headlining the Helium now.
Yep. And then I don't know if you're familiar with who Jordan Granger is, but he's trying to get things moving in Kokomo.
Really?
Yes, he's got the Kokomo Press. He had his own podcast going. He has his own band. And he really makes a lot of wheels moving. But there's a lot of female comics out there too, man, who are just tearing up the scene. You got Maya Adele. She's a 2-time roast champion that Kevin King, who's actually one of my very best friends, talks me out of a lot of ledges. He's out of Greenwood. So if you're ever in Greenwood, look up one of Kevin King's shows because I guarantee you're going to have a good time.
Really? Okay.
He does Heckle and Hyde. He does the roast battles and so on and so forth. They're actually going to be roasting Santa on December 6th.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm. And, so you've got Whitney White. You've got Crystal Evans, Curvy. She goes by Curvy Tard Nerd. And then you've got Chelsea. You've got a lot of women in Bloomington. And what I love about the women of, I'm actually hosting Muckies on Monday. And one of my idols is CK the Silver Sheep. You should look her up too. But I'm so excited. I actually bought a new dress just to host for her.
Now, let me ask you a question. Both of them are careers. Mm-hmm. Some people would say singing and music is a hobby. They would say that's a hobby, but this is truly a career path.
It is a labor of love. And you know what? I went into it. It's funny because I always think of my dad as like Red Foreman. Did you ever see that 70s show?
What's it called?
That 70s show.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Okay. Look up Red Foreman and you'll see that's exactly how my dad was. So when I told him, I was like, I want to do stand-up comedy. I was expecting so much kickback. And he goes, light him up, babe.
Did you choose comedy because it was a way to
self-express,
but escape the pain that you dealt with your mom, not being as close as you are with your mom, knowing that was taken away from you, that,
there's that. But it's also to deal with the pain of life. Like living with ADHD, I feel pain literally every day in some form.
The pain of others.
The pain of others.
Okay.
But I also have the pain of what I do to myself. So like the thoughts, the intrusive thoughts, and not being able to, to pull out of them. And when I tell you that comedy saved my life, I couldn't be any more clearer and more direct when I say it saved my life, because it pulled me out of the darkest places. Like I had Robin Williams, who's one of my ultimate heroes
to
look
up to.
Robin
Williams.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was getting ready for this show and I was feeling down in the dumps, and I'm actually writing some comedy on what it's like to cope with ADHD. In order to teach, but have people learn and retain, because I'm tired of having to justify my entire being because people don't want to understand. Do
you really need to justify who you are?
I don't need to, but people like to make me think that I do.
Okay.
And it's a good learning experience, but he was talking about mental illness, and if it was only one pill you could take called fuck it all. And that's that whole skit. And I was like, you know what? Robin's speaking to me, but I also love a lot of the, like George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Burgess Meredith, Bernie Mac, Kevin Hart is one of my heroes. Cat Williams. If I could just hug and stroke his luxurious hair, I would be fine.
We tried to get Cat on the show. Evidently, there was some miscommunications with when he came to Indianapolis.
Well, if you ever let him know. I just, it's so luxurious.
Well, my head is luxurious. I shave it every day, But let me tell you, so let's go back for a minute. Let's talk about all-time favorite of mine. Now, I love Jerry Seinfeld, but this ain't about Jerry Seinfeld. We're going to go deeper than that while we got a little bit of time. I really started getting into Robin Williams when I watched the movie What Dreams May Come. And then I started watching other movies. It's amazing how the universe works. Other movies started coming my way with Robin Williams. And I realized a lot of people didn't really know him.
Did you ever see the movie Patch Adams?
By Robin Williams? No, but that's
You
on
should
my
watch
list.
it. Well, you should, because the way that I base my nursing care is based off Patch Adams' philosophy. And you know, like the real life Patch Adams, he wanted to open the Gesundheit Institute.
Is that the one where he
He's got the handlebar mustache and he was a clown.
No, I didn't see that. I remember a movie that he did with Robert De Niro, where he was a doctor and he was talking about was it Parkinson's and stuff?
Yeah, it could be, yeah. But this was specifically regarding Patch Adams, who's actually still alive, and he does a lot of mission trips, and he's well into his 80s now. He's a doctor who went back to school in his 40s. But in the medical field, one of the biggest things, and I think it's more self-preservation because we get burnt out, is because of transference. And he was trying to end that, but he has a big stickler of what it's like to healthcare is dominated by the insurance companies. Like, a lot of people don't realize that nursing back in the 1500s were actually indigent women who had to learn to care for the sick. Most of them were prisoners too.
Really?
Before it was taken over by Florence Nightingale, and they started to, get the education portion of it. Yeah, it was women who had to take care of other people. But Patch Adams' philosophy is like, you can have a whole self. Every patient has the ability to give care, and when you extend yourself for the comfort of a human being, some of that pain can go away. Like, I had a friend tell me his father taught him, if you're hungry and you see a homeless person, give them a meal, not money, because sometimes if you give them money, it doesn't always go to where you want to give them a meal. You'll notice that the hunger pains go away because you're giving an act of love. And any type of care should be coming from an act of love. And love, a lot of people say that they know the meaning of love, but I don't think that they truly do, because love actually takes more of you than it gives back.
It is so funny you said that. Right here on Keystone, coming off of Keystone to 80s, whatever street this is, there's always somebody right there at the Iron, where Ironworks is at. Always somebody right there. And I give money to them. And somebody said, "Hey, Dre, why you give them money? They're only going to do this." I said, "Well, if I'm giving it to them, I'm giving it to them because I want to feel like I made a difference, whether it be $1 or whatever. What they do with that $1 or that $5 after I leave, it's not up to me. That's something they have to deal with. But at the moment, I'm giving because of love. That's all that matters."
So most of my college prep in school, I was a weird girl in school. I was very skinny and awkward, and I was a jock, but I was also a very huge book nerd. So most of my college prep was actually to study for journalism.
Really? That's why you wanted to be a DJ too?
Yeah.
And a radio person?
Yeah.
I'm known as
But
so
I love
much.
music. And I was actually listening to Freddie Mercury on the way here. He's one of my biggest heroes because it's okay to be different, because I always grew up different. I knew mentally I was different, but I just couldn't express it. But I ended up getting strep throat during the week where we were supposed to take all of our pictures. Like, I had written a few articles for the paper and stuff like that. Got strep throat. My dad couldn't be with me, but one of his greatest things that he did is he knew he needed our comfort. So he would let us sleep in his bed, because it had his scent. It had, it was Dad's bed. Plus it was huge and you could roll around. It was fantastic. Plus he had his TV right there. Boom. Patch Adams came on. And this was right at the time in my high school career where I learned about the political bias that's in the news media, the Republican, the Democrat. I talked to my dad, and we were having some deep conversations because I was like, is it really censorship if I'm putting a spin on it? Because they technically are censoring. They're not telling the truth. They're censoring it to benefit another. And I was having a hard time coping with it. And I always was interested in science and stuff like that. And then Patch Adams came on, and I was so moved. I was like, this is the path that I'm supposed to be choosing. This is where, because I'll tell you, like, I never really gave up my writing. You know, I went through periods of where it had to dwindle down, you know, like with parenting and lifing and stuff like that. But, you know, one of the fondest memories of my childhood is, you know, my dad bought me a typewriter because he knew it was hard for me to communicate with other people. He knew it was hard for me to relate to other people, but I could reach them through my writing. I could reach them through my art, whether it was drawing or if it was writing. Or me, I'm a picture person. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, that 1,000 words can shift someone else's entire existence for that day. Mm-hmm. But that's the type of love, you know, that's the type of love that man gave me. And, you know, we used to get so angry with my father because he would let us fall. But when I say when I say that he would let us fall safely. He was never too far. He's like, how can you appreciate the victory if you don't fail? Mm. How can you generate that plan B or learn to maneuver if you don't fall? He's like, my father's resilience is, I think, what I most took out of him. Because, like, my father's an extremely brilliant man. He just didn't get the opportunity to go to college. But that's why when it came to our education, you know, he made sure that we excelled. And he would always tell me, you know, because, like, I'm a huge Tim Burton fan. I'm a fan of the Machado because I was always told you're different. I even get told today, I had someone tell me recently, you're not normal. Well, no, I'm not. But thank you for pointing that out, Captain Obvious, longtime caller, first time listener, you know, like first time listener, long time caller, or whatever, however that saying goes. I know I'm not normal, but that's why I generate towards the abnormal. Like Edgar Allan Poe is one of my favorite poets, and people can look at his time frame and be like, oh, he did this, he did that. Well, it was actually normal for that time for them to marry cousins and stuff like that due to the people. Sometimes I wish that they would retract their head from their sphincter before they speak, but we can't really control all that. In essence, you know, like Freddie Mercury, Edgar Allan Poe, all those men, it taught me it's okay to be different, and you can embrace that and you can use it into your superpower. And I think my dad knew that when he said, go ahead and light him up, baby, because that's what my comedy journey is about. It's not about reaching the masses. I mean, I went into it realizing I'm probably not going to get a Netflix special. But I've grown so much in the 8 months that I've done it. I'm making connections with people. And I've made a few friends, which for me is a big deal. Mm-hmm. I mean, so I love comedy. It has become such a big passion of mine, and it's opened up a wealth of opportunity that I didn't know that I would be able to have. And actually, when I was getting ready for this show today, I actually thought about Kevin Hearthstone. I was like, man, I hope he looks down and sees what his little pebble has created, his little pebble in the pond. Mm. Because he gave me that chance. He just gave me that one little chance. And I never thought that I'd be sitting here. I never thought that I would be making people laugh and getting genuine laughs. I never thought that I would be doing any of this at all. And Kevin had a dream. So, like, when I host shows, there's obviously the competitive side of comedy. You know, people, they're in that rat race to be the best comic or whatever, even if it's at the cost of someone else. That's their journey. I always hand the microphone to them. Because normally you put the microphone in the stand and then you place it in but in honor of Kevin, I always hand it to him. So that way it's a way of saying welcome to the stage. And it's a way of honoring him for giving me that chance, to go back up.
Hold that thought. We're going to come back with part 2 of such a interesting story. I'm going to call it Passing the Mic. But don't go nowhere. We're going to do part 2 of this. You guys make sure you stick around. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton. Say it with me.
Andre the Beast Crayton.
Show.